I'm excited to share a conversation with you that I just had with my mom, Marie Beard. Marie is also a master's prepared nurse, only I took the nursing education track in my master's program and she took the nurse practitioner track. So we have worked together often over the years, solving different medical problems and bouncing ideas off of each other. And I'm just so excited to share this conversation with you where I asked her some questions about her health history. She has had just a horrible time in the last decade or so with health, well, even before that, even since as far back as 2004, with significant health difficulties that together, but by the grace of God, have we been able to overcome. And I'm excited to share this conversation with you. So let's get started. So I want to introduce you to my mom, Marie Beard. And Mom, you have just had a go when it comes to your health. There was a point in your life when you were taking so many medications for pain and for psych and for blood sugar and cholesterol and all kinds of stuff. You were having chronic pain every day. And then you had to have like almost a dozen abdominal surgeries that caused you to become weak and deconditioned because your doctor scared you really and said you really needed to stay on the couch and not lift anything and not move too much because the abdominal surgeries were like so intense that over a period of a couple of years, your health just deteriorated so quickly. Mm-hmm. And now you're telling me that you just got home from water aerobics and from walking with your best friend outside. Is that right?
Oh yeah, I'm hitting the nature trails. Honest to goodness, I have plans. I do not want to slow down. I'm taking up, I tell people, there's some old people, they get healthy and they want to go run a half marathon and they're training and all that. And I thought, well, my knees will not even think about it. So I thought, well, I like to be outside too, and I like to do things, and I love to be out in nature because God made it. I get so thankful when I get out walking, and I thought, well, and I love the mountains, so I decided that I would go under training myself. I have another senior citizen friend who's hiked the Appalachian Trail. So she's training me, and your brother, my son Jeremy's helping out with training. And this fall, I think end of September, I'm gonna plan like a 2-day 10-mile hike with my son and maybe a grandson, man. Grab somebody else to bring with me. But the thing is, I couldn't even. It cost me energy to even try to think about dreaming. You have to have a little grain of hope inside of you. And I do have hope. My hope is in God. And I know, I'm assured with that, but hope that my body would get better. Everything they told me. Arthritis pretty much head to toe. Well, everything I know as a nurse about arthritis is that it gets worse. Right. You don't get better. It's wear and tear, right, on the joints. And, only thing you got going for you is down. I got no hope nowhere from anybody. That's, well, you and what you've taught. But, I never had an inkling that I could get better. I never had an inkling that I would have energy. I have energy. I don't want naps anymore. I used to have anxiety. I don't want anti-anxiety. I'm just in a super good place. And it's from all of the changes that I've made in my life. I guess you put them under the lifestyle sort of things. But, the choices, I just didn't know. We talk about sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and you can't hold the doctor accountable for the fact that they don't know because they were, so you can find a lot of fault, and I could go back and find fault, but that's not helpful. But when I was going through all of those surgeries in Evansville, at least twice nearly died for sure. In intensive care, temporary colostomy, just horrible things. It was then that I decided, well, I can't change everything and I can't know everything. See, that's the thing with you and what you've done you do the same nursing research that I would do, right? Yeah, I mean,
Right.
you have done and set up and were doing to help me and to help your own health back then. So all of well, I guess it wouldn't be nice to call it grunt work, but I can, hitting the research, hitting the PubMed, finding out the stuff and comparing it with the other stuff. And my brain was just like jello back then. I mean, I understood what you were saying, but I could not have done that myself.
Right.
So I think one of the biggest things that people need to understand when they're looking at, spending time with you, learning from you, is that if I didn't have just that access to you, and you were already doing all the research on the supplements and you would just call me and tell me what you thought, and we would talk about it medical to medical and, figure it out and go forward. But if you had not done that, I mean, I've had several opportunities to crash and burn, even in the last 4 years since I moved down here. So getting healthy as I know it now, I didn't even conceive of the idea then. I had chronic pain, that's sort of looking at like 33 years.
Yeah, I know, almost forever. I mean, almost forever you've had something, and now you're virtually pain-free.
Yeah, I have, and that's where you get teary. My pain became part of my identity. It wasn't just something I experienced or something. You live there. Right. You have such an emotional and cognitive and physical, spiritual, all of it is just wrapped up in your pain. I mean, every day I would have, you talk about, I would have sold an organ if I could have, gotten better, right?
That's what I say. Yeah, I would have sold a kidney or something. Yep.
Well, I would have given just about anything just to have a couple hours, honestly, just a couple hours. Because even when I was asleep, I knew I was in pain. I didn't want to wake up and turn over because I knew it would hurt. It's so amazing. And every day I just keep thinking, God is so good. I didn't get an hour pain-free. I have whole days where I don't have pain.
Well, and the pain,
we can talk about that later.
Well, right, but the pain, at least from what I'm understanding, is coming from you doing things you never thought you would be able to do. You're having pain because you just repotted all your plants. You're not having pain because you're sitting around and having aches and pains. And there was a day not that long ago that we couldn't have imagined that you would be able to repot your plants or go for a walk or much less train for a hike with your friends. I mean, it's just incredible.
It wasn't when last summer, I was still to a point where when I would pull up in front of your house to come for a visit, I would walk down the road to the driveway and down because it worried me walking on the grass because there might be a little hole, because I used to fall. I had a lot of trouble with falling.
So I want to talk about that for a minute. So I've obviously known you my entire life, and we've been working on your health. I mean, 10 years at least, right? I can't remember when your first surgery was, but I mean, it's been probably a decade we've been working slowly. And right before we got on,
about 8.5 years, I think.
Yeah. And right before we hit the record button, we were talking through the timeline of how things went. And you were telling me that in Evansville, before you moved back to Anderson, that you had started to make some changes, and we were learning about how our household products were making us sick and endocrine disruptors. And you were getting rid of a lot of that stuff. And we were working towards correcting your hemoglobin A1C and some things like that. So you had already been making some changes, but when you moved to Anderson, you were still so sick that brain fog was like ruling your life. You weren't able to compute new information. You weren't able to retain information. Quite honestly, your driving made me nervous. in addition to like your physical not wanting to fall, hurting kind of symptoms. So what I would like to share with people is that it's really been since September of 21 and it's now April of 22 that the vastest, biggest life-changing differences have happened. And coincidentally, that is when we started working together on the 90-day Jumpstart. That's when you really were like, no, I want to help you. Give me some things that I can do. So you already knew a lot of the information that we talked about in the 90-day Jumpstart, but it wasn't getting like drilled into your head day after day after day. So I find that perhaps coincidental. But could you speak to some of the changes that you have personally made consistently since September till now that you're attributing a lot of your gaining all this ground and weight loss and new energy to?
Wow. It's hard for me to remember that it's only been a matter of months. September, October, December, January. So, I mean, less than 6 months,
Yeah.
say, I've made the majority of changes. Now, if you look back just another couple of months, I take my weight loss from like May, but really, fall, September is when the changes start. But everything has changed. I started, I think, the most with the spiritual side of me. Like I was saying, that the holistic, I've always had kind of that holistic approach as far as what makes you up and makes you feel good or not good. But my spiritual life, I honed in on first because I knew that was going to be key to making any lasting changes at all. I didn't want to make, a lot of steps in a direction that was not the direction that the Lord wanted me to go in,
Right.
So I spent a lot of time focusing first on that. And it was through that, God told me to, I know you've talked about timeline at the end, but I created a timeline. I felt like there were some things that had started earlier in life. And I feel like if you go back and pull the roots in the garden, you have a lot better chance of clearing something negative out of your garden, right?
Right.
And it's the same thing. So I prayed, the Lord to just remove the blockages and stuff. I also did some emotional and type work with, that I'm sure that we'll talk about another time too. But as far as I was stuck in unhealthy patterns, and I'm learning now, and through a current study I'm doing, you also had mentioned heart math at the end of the 90-day Jumpstart. In working with that I realized that there were things holding me back. Self-sabotage. I knew that I self-sabotage. I mean, most of us at some time or another have done that. I've been really good at it, But so trying to, move some of that. I think the changes were so fast because I did so much at once. But
you did a lot of the emotional and the mindset work, and that propelled things for sure. And now you're going to be able to help my clients with that, which is super exciting.
Oh, I'm very excited as well. But the other things now, I'm still. I keep a close eye on anything toxins, I got rid of some of that before this too. But like I use the essential oils instead of the candles, the cleaning things, a lot of the things that you had talked about. But I also really just use the heck out of my essential oils. I mean, all day long I was slathering something on or diffusing all in the rooms of the house, and that helped as well. But the consistent, I would say, kitchen work was my biggest. I have got to where I really don't miss or want meat to speak of. If I did, I would find a good quality grass-fed, open range, or whatever. But I've not really been. It's been a long time. I craved convenience food. That's a whole nother topic, though.
Right.
But not meat. I'm really enjoying the food that I'm cooking, and it's all the 90-day and daily dozen stuff that we studied, all of those sort of plant-based whole food recipes. I'm actually cooking. I've never, well, bless your heart and your brother's hearts as well. I never was a very good cook, never learned very much about it, but now I'm learning about seasonings and spices and making these great Buddha bowls. They call them that because they're one meal serving things for anybody who doesn't know, but they're mounded on top a little bit because you have so much good stuff in them. So they're called Buddha bowls. But, in soups, I like things I can cook ahead of time or prep ahead of time that will give me more daily dozen points.
Right, that you can eat on.
I can throw in easy 10 points on a smoothie and, things like that. And making it a little bit of a game, has helped. But I had to learn what I liked to eat.
Well, and you're eating more food than you've ever eaten before, right? So the focus, for those that don't know anything about the 90-day Jumpstart, what I'm teaching is that you need more plants, more food God grew as close to the way God grew it as possible. So we teach something that Dr. Greger from nutritionfacts.org has called the daily dozen. And it's just, in a perfect world, if you could just design the most perfect diet possible for all of the nutritional reasons, it would be to include as many of these foods as you possibly can. I don't teach that you necessarily have to avoid things like meat and stuff. I'm just explaining why perhaps they're not serving you well. But the daily dozen is a list of foods that you should try to include the best you can: nuts and seeds and grains and fruits and vegetables and flaxseed and spices and things like that. So what I think is interesting is that a lot of people that start hearing the word, I need to change my diet, I need to start getting healthy, they're picturing an absence of food. And that has not been your experience. You have been really focusing on including enough food, enough of the right foods.
The way my mama used to eat this way before it was cool. But she had vegetables that I never knew the names of, and I just thought she was kind of a little off. But this, it's just an abundance. I mean, that is just what I keep thinking. The more good quality food, as close to God grew it, the way it was grown, it's just. Oh, it's amazing. My tastes have changed. So it's all part of it. Learning time management, that's always been a real big issue with me. And an aversion to the kitchen, which has not been a huge aversion, but but I'm coming out. I started out, and this is one thing maybe people will see. I started out trying to replace the things that I was always eating.
Right,
like
and that
if I had
work.
Burgers all the time, you replace it with a frozen veggie burger patty that's nasty.
Yeah,
or a lasagna. Well, I'll try to find a fake white sauce with vegetables instead of. But then, you have to go through before you can, get to where you want to go. I had to figure out, well, it wasn't that good to start out with. I don't need this. I don't need that. And now I'm just making the stuff I like.
That
I'm
you
having
like,
food prep time. But I'm getting so healthy. I had no idea.
You have your weights. You have your weights written in front of you, right? From May of last year until now.
Yeah, I was 194 last May, and I'm 141 now. But I dropped quick. Now you have to understand, all you people that have been dieting, for over time. I certainly have been one of those to try the latest whatever thing, but I always kept my fat clothes because I knew that chances are I'm going to need them, right? And I have up and down and up and
Right.
down, but I feel like my body is coming into balance. That's really what I'm looking for. If you don't balance all of you, spiritual, laughter, whatever the good things, if you don't bring the good things into your life, you just don't know. But I was not trying to lose weight. My goal has not been on losing weight in years, even though I needed to. That has not been my goal. My goal is on trying not to add all these toxins into me, and in their place, adding in all of these really, really good things. And essential oils have played a huge part, because they just speak to me on so many different levels. But this is the healing way to live, and pulling the roots out of the garden, whether it's in, old childhood emotion things, which is some of what I've healed, but right down into today, train of thought. But
that's okay. Would you go ahead? I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
So if you don't mind sharing, and if you don't want to share, that's okay. I can just delete this part. But if you don't mind sharing, could you name some of the medications that you were taking in the last 10 years and then share what you're taking now?
Oh my gosh.
If you don't mind.
They, part of your body's reactions to problems, your body tries to notify you when there's something going on that needs your attention, right? My biggest thing, I think that I started on way early, like maybe as an older teen or something, is if something hurt, well, they have a pill for that. So you take, if my nose is a little bit runny, probably because I was eating a bunch of junk I didn't need, you would take, I would take something for that. I would take something for this. Ignoring my body didn't help, but I was convinced, and I found doctors that would, validate it, that I had, all kinds of, psych stuff going on and all that. Well, my body, I was feeling anxious, but I didn't have an anxiety disorder. I had things in my life I needed to change, but I was, oh my gosh, I was on, hang on, thinking the one with the L, the worst.
Lamictal.
Yeah, I was on Lamictal, but there's the bipolar. I don't have the words in front of me, but I was on, let me see, I was on the cholesterol. I was on simvastatin for cholesterol. I was on an antipsychotic. I was on Abilify and a couple of others at different times. I was on, there's one in particular for bipolar. It'll come back to me, but I was on a number of antidepressants over time. But
you were on benzos, yeah. You were on benzodiazepines during the psych time, yeah.
Yes, because I had panic attacks.
Right. So you were on medication for anxiety. You were on medication for what we believe now to be a very big misdiagnosis for bipolar. You were on medications for cholesterol, for blood sugar, all of the pain medications.
Yeah, a couple of different blood sugar ones.
All the pain medications. You had Flexeril in your purse all the time for pain. You always had Sudafed on you. All of the ibuprofens and all
everything
of those
I
kind
could
of
use.
NSAIDs.
I tried to use, and most of them were prescription.
Right.
I had the really bad migraines for.
Yes, I'd forgotten about that. You were down
too.
a couple of years with migraines.
Yeah,
and all of that is gone now.
Yeah, it is. Every once in a while, I'll get a little bit of tightness around my forehead, and I'll think, I've got a headache. I used to have those same aha moments when I would be like, nothing hurts right now. I would call you and tell you, or call Randy from the other, I don't have any pain right now. I would be so excited, but I don't know.
And what are you taking now for medication.
I'm taking, I kept the metformin for a while because we're not completely done with my blood sugar.
Your hemoglobin A1C takes a while to regulate. I mean, it's not an overnight thing. So we're probably a year. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much better. But yeah, I figure I've got a few more months on that. But now I was recently taking one of the anti-inflammatory things because I had hand surgery that didn't go just right. But then I'm not doing that anymore. So really just the metformin and Synthroid, and then Synthroid.
Right. Yeah, that'll take some time too.
Yeah, but that's it. I don't take the PRNs.
Right.
I don't need them.
Right. Exactly.
I don't need. And now that my activity level has kicked back up, it's been a couple weeks since I started doing my hiking and water exercise thing. My digestive system is working the way it's supposed to as well, and that's been a lifelong problem with slow moving gut. That's always been a problem for me. So now it's just, a matter of trying to work with fitness and stuff. But yeah, I was taking, I would line up the box of pills on the kitchen table and load up my pill keepers for the week.
And it wasn't just, and this is what I want to make sure listeners understand. It's not just that you're having to take all of these medications. Like, that's not good for your liver. It's not good for your body. Medications have side effects, but it's also a huge financial investment and a huge time investment. You spend a lot of time at the doctor's office and a lot of money at the drugstore. So I just wanted to speak to that for just a second. I mean, we can leave it there. We don't really need to talk about it, but the amount of time and energy that's being saved that you instead can spend in the kitchen, going on hikes, playing with your grandchildren. I mean, it's truly a miracle that God has brought us to this time and this place where you could experience this. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, I completely agree. And but again, people, again, don't know what they don't know, but I like the way that the 90-day Jumpstart, I think, is helping, it's helping people to see all of the different little areas that they can have an effect on their life with. I would think, well, I'll never be able to do all that, so I'll just quit. That's the self-sabotage and the defeatist attitude, and I've done diets before. But this is just completely different. I've changed probably most aspects of my life. All the things because they're all choices. Every choice you make, that's one of the first things that I remember you sharing with me. Every single choice matters. So whether I get up a half an hour early so I have time for my morning routine, is a choice I can make. But I didn't really realize that I would be able to tell a difference if I did something different. I was in that rut, in that pit, just for so long that I really didn't think it would work. So as soon as I started seeing a positive benefit, I was like all over it. But I had to stop doing bad things to me while starting to do good things for me.
Well, I agree, but I mean, again, for the listeners, the biggest bad thing you cut out that made the biggest difference was processed food.
Yes. That was, I think, the biggest.
Right. The boxed food and the freezer food, that was the biggest thing. You haven't had to cut out all of desserts and all of sweets and all of eating out and all of whatever else people think is fun. I mean, you haven't. And instead, you're spending time in the kitchen. You're making things from scratch that you love, your buddies in your belly love, everything. The trade-off is kitchen time, really, and being disciplined in your routine. You now have a morning and an evening routine that you fought me on for years. Now you have one that you've designed the way that suits you best on your time frame, but you do have a routine. and you're spending more time in the kitchen. That's been the big trade-off. And because you've done that and you've done it consistently over the last 6 months, now you get to go hike with your friends and you've got the energy and the brain clarity. I mean, your fibro symptoms were significant. Your brain fog.
We didn't even mention my fibromyalgia on my list.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, your fibro brain fog was so scary. And now you don't have it. I can call you and bounce ideas off of you. You know, we're working together, and it's been a lifetime to get you here, but it's really been the last 6 months of consistent effort that have given you this major payoff.
I think so too. I started to believe it would make a difference. I just don't, I don't know. There was just that block, you know, but we all have things that we tell ourselves. So there negative thoughts. That there's been studies, you know, studies on so much, but studies that I've seen recently about that most of the thoughts that go through our minds on any given day that come from ourselves are negative. Oh, well, I should have done that. I should have known that. You know, all the little things, or, oh, I'm just too fat to do that. Or even something little, well, I never follow through. So of course, but the more I would throw those things out there, they just sounded like excuses because I was spending my time in prayer. If I didn't start the days with prayer, I could tell the outcome generally was not what I was looking for, you know, at the other end of the day. So, but
that's all become part of your morning routine now. Yeah.
It's all of it. It's all of it put together, taking small amounts of action on several different areas.
Agreed.
I think is more beneficial than hitting just the food. Because I tried that, you know, but I wasn't really getting healthier. But now that I'm doing all of the different things, and I'm certainly not perfect, I have to gain back muscle mass. There's a lot I need to do for myself. I'm not like in super duper shape, but boy, I am on the way.
Well, it's a completely different,
to get there.
Yeah, your life is completely different than it was, though. I mean, it's completely different. It's not about being perfect. I mean, that's one of the first things I teach is perfection's not the goal, but I just think it's dramatically impressive how different your life is based on the last 6 months of choices.
Oh, and absolutely. I agree. And in every aspect, you know, I was doing so much bad to myself with the food and the drugs and the, you know, a lot of things that I've done. I mean, I have smoking history and all that kind of stuff, but when pulling it all back together, it just comes down to what choice are you doing, and then planning.
Right. There's a lot of planning.
The idea of planning, not just meal planning, but like planning the morning routine, planning the the bedtime routine, and all of the things that you're talking about. The less thinking up an idea I have to do on the fly. You know, if I don't plan ahead of time, I'm going to make not so good choices.
Agreed.
Because I'll be stuck. What do you mean? I'm running errands. I'm 2 hours longer than I thought I was going to be, and I'm hungry.
Right.
Well, I didn't plan for that. So now I do plan for it. I've got some cashews and I bring some frozen grapes with me in the car. And if I get hungry, I have something. You know, you have to find out what your areas are that are going to, you know, your listeners, the what tricks they can put in place to not sabotage themselves.
Agreed.
No, but yeah, it's a wonderful thing. But, you know, once I knew that you did the same kind of research I did, and even more so, and all that stuff, it's so much, it just works better for me, at least, to put things into your hand, ask you, bounce ideas off of you. You tell me the latest stuff that's going on. I mean, I would have to keep plugged in, and obviously I can't keep plugged in because you're my little girl, but you know, I think it's very beneficial to have access to someone who's already done the research or can do more research into your specific thing that you need
Right.
you
Which
know,
is the
because,
beauty of, yeah. So there's a 90-day
yeah.
program that we've been talking about, the 90-day Jumpstart, and then people can go into the 12-month mentorship if they want to. And that's the way to get continued access to ask me questions. It's kind of like putting me on retainer, I guess you could say, with a lot of education and things like that, recipes and accountability and really great stuff like that. But that's what she's referring to as far as like continuing to have access to me to pick my brain and take advantage of the fact that I like doing this kind of research. But Mom, as we wrap up here, is there anything, if you only had 60 or 90 seconds to just tell somebody about the 90-day Jumpstart itself, what would you tell them?
Everything that I got dripped into me over a period of about 5 years, along with lots more wisdom that Teresa has gained over time. And I have too. We're both master's prepared nurses. We both, our brains, have an affinity for this kind of knowledge. But the bottom line, I think, for people is it's just mind-blowing. Life-changing is kind of really an understatement, at least, for me. I mean, getting off of all of those medications, we didn't have the money to pay for a bunch of chemicals to, I mean, that was not what I needed to do at that time, but it was all that was offered. Now, this is the way that it's across the country. All of these things are out there, the lifestyle medicine, all the things, and you have it all under an umbrella. Right. One-stop shopping, get all of the different aspects. But if you can tackle just a few things in each little category as you go along, your life will be different at the end of the 90 days and beyond. It's not taken long for me, 6 months for me to completely do a turnaround. Now, I had a lot of prep work in there, but it can be done. There is hope for change, and you can really totally do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time and for being so vulnerable and sharing so much with the listeners. I really appreciate it, Mom.
No problem.
Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions about her story or you want to hear more, just reach out to me and let me know. At some point in the future, we might be able to compile more of a case study approach with the difference in her labs over the last couple of years and some more details about her medical journey, because it's been really scary. She really did almost die several times, and her health or lack thereof is actually what propelled me to create Empower and Flourish at the time in my life when I did. I was still very sick myself when I started all of this research, but my mom needed me. And if we had done what traditional healthcare, what the Western medicine model wanted us to do with her health, she would have died more than once. And she certainly wouldn't be out taking hikes with her best friend and her son and training for some of the hiking on the Appalachian Trail. So I'm so proud of her. I'm so grateful that God has given me the opportunity to help her, and I can help you. It doesn't really matter what your symptoms are or where you are in life. There's room for improvement. There's hope. It's not too late, and I can help you. There's a link on this page somewhere to learn more about the 90-day Jumpstart. I'm happy to help you in any way I can. Just let me know if you have questions. Check out the link for more information, and I hope you have an amazing day. Thanks for listening.